Chapter 5. Energy. The control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. Fighting with a large army under your command is no different from fighting with a small one. It is merely a question of instituting signs and signals. To ensure that your whole host may withstand the brunt of the enemy's attack and remain unshaken can be accomplished by maneuvers, direct and indirect. That the impact of your army may be like a grindstone dashed against an egg, this is effected by the science of weak points and strong.
Okay, welcome back to this week. We're looking at the 5th chapter, which is called Energy in Sun Tzu's Art of War. It's actually one of my favorites to look at because it's really getting to the practical use and knowledge of warfare, and it really applies as a generalization to a lot of things, and especially wrestling. When Sun Tzu talks about invading and attacking an opponent, he refers to direct and indirect conflict. That being taking the opponent head on by force with direct, and indirectly attacking an opponent from the sides, flanking, i.e. things like that, or lulling or bringing your opponent in. That's sort of indirect attacks. And in the gym, in my philosophy of wrestling, we really like to cover we call this a proactive and reactive wrestling. Now with proactive, what I mean by that is that you are setting the pace. You are the one making all the attacks. There are two different ways to get your opponent to move, and by being proactive, I am forcing my opponent. I'm taking the shot. I'm banging on the head. I'm forcing action out of him. Now, whether I will, score points off that, or rather, if he comes into me and he screws up because I'm forcing him to, okay, that's being proactive. Reactive is not to be confused with defense. I don't want you to think of it as being you're sitting there and waiting for your opponent to screw up, but rather I am going to let my opponent come to me, and depending on how he reacts to what I do, I'll use that to my advantage. I'll use that for my attack. So I would say, for a good example, in the terms of wrestling, proactive would be high crotches, double legs, single legs. That'd be probably good. Reactive would be like using Russians and how he puts his, reacts to that. Throws definitely not proactive. You can't really force a throw. It's going to be you set up the opponent, and whatever he gives you, you take the throw off that. And there's a scene actually in the Matrix I really think is it defines being reactive. If you watch Neo when he first realizes that he's in a computer simulation, begins training with his mentor Morpheus, and Morpheus reveals that how to react in the computer simulation and how to use your advantage. But that's sort of irrelevant to what we're talking about. But what I like about that whole scene is watching how Morpheus attacks Neo without actually coming and attacking first. He's reacting off of what Neo does, or Keanu Reeves' character if you haven't seen the movie.
This is a sparring program, similar to the programmed reality of the Matrix. It has the same basic rules like gravity. What you must learn is that these rules are no different than the rules of a computer system. Some of them can be bent. Others can be broken. Understand? Then hit me, if you can. Good. Adaptation, improvisation. But your weakness is not your technique.
So by looking at that, you can kind of see what I mean. Is you can be quite deadly by not being direct. Okay, especially we have to be careful always being direct all the time because, you know, again, you might run into someone who's bigger, stronger, and faster, and it may not play in your favor to take them head on. So that's all I have for this week. If you can get a chance, if you can't make it to the gym, go and wish Jeff Anderson. He's one of the Myrmidon who trains with us. That he is representing the United States this week in Poland in Greco-Roman wrestling at the World Championships. So hopefully he brings back some hardware to the gym. So again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, let me know, and I'll get back to you. See you next week.